thank you very much for the nice introduction, and hello everyone. I'm Felix, co-founder and CEO of Dyemansion. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here today, and before I start with my presentation, I would like to say thank you to the Danish AM Hub team because of three things. First of all, for making it happen that we finally have a real-world event again. It's so cool to see familiar faces after 2 years now. So thank you very much for not just pushing it to a digital event. Then second, what you just already mentioned, at the last AM Summit, our first investor, AM Ventures, the team of AM Summit connected them with our latest investor, Nordic Alpha Partners, and this resulted in our Series B funding round last year, so thank you very much for this. And last but not least, thank you for combining sustainability and additive manufacturing for this event, because it's the most important topic of our times, and the more we talk about it, the better. So I would like to start with this slide. So what you can see here, first of all, it has a bad resolution, so sorry for that. And then you can see how our global supply chains work today. And actually, I'm pretty sure in 10 years from now, it won't look like this anymore because of two things. First of all, in terms of sustainability, we have a problem. Today, we do prototyping and pre-series manufacturing in Europe, then mass production is somewhere in China and assembly also in Asia, and then we ship around the products all over the world and store them in warehouses with the hope that someone buys them. In terms of sustainability, this is not really smart, so we have to change it. And luckily, it's already not working like this anymore already today. COVID was the beginning, but as all of you know, we have huge global supply chains, global supply chain problems. So this will change, and 3D printing can play a major role in it, and that's why I'm super happy that we also, as Dyemansion, are working in this industry, because we can really have a huge impact. Let me give you some facts for 3D printing in general. So actually, the total energy consumption for shipment is 5% of the total energy consumption, but because they only use fossil fuels, it's around 14% of the global carbon emissions. That's just because of shipment. And there are several studies out there, and all of them are quite clear that sooner or later 3D printing can reduce shipments by 25%, which would equals with 4% of global carbon emissions, which is not a little thing, it's really huge. So 3D printing can really have a huge impact. Then we need to innovate quite fast if we want to accomplish all the challenges. And today, you maybe use 3D printing for prototyping, but when you go to serial manufacturing, you switch technologies. This takes forever, it's super expensive, and if you want to make changes afterwards, it's quite hard. And with 3D printing, actually, we can prototype and go to serial manufacturing without changing the technology. So that will really help to accelerate innovation within our world. Then mass customization. I mean, mass customization is not bad in general, right? But when you look at those eyewear frames as example, you can buy those sunglasses at every beach in the world for €5. The quality is not good. It's also just, there is no value with the product. It's just a throwaway product. And actually, we just use mass production technologies to produce it as cheap as possible. And with 3D printing, actually my eyewear frame, they scanned my face, and I just got this frame produced for me. So actually we can go into mass production, but still can customize the single product. So I think that's also a huge value. And another big point is that today when people learn how to design products and parts, actually they only learn, hey, you need to design it so that it's easy and cheap to produce in the end. And I think that's quite sad. And with 3D printing, complexity of a part is not a cost driver anymore. And so in the future, there are actually almost no design limits anymore, and we can produce way cooler products and also way better products that we can produce today. So what are we doing as Dyemansion? So actually, we are focusing on the post-processing of 3D printed plastic parts that come out of industrial powder bed printers. Woo! That sounds niche and complex, but actually it's not too complicated. So as all of you know, there are different printing technologies out there, but when you really want to go into serial production, you actually end up with printers that cost 300,000 euros plus, and they are using a powder bed technology. And the outcome of those parts is not a final part. Actually, it's a powder cake. So first of all, you need to take the parts out, and then you will recognize there is a lot of powder, everywhere powder residues. It's a super uneven and rough surface quality. There is no color, and actually you cannot use traditional methods for finishing because most of the parts have a very complex and unique geometry. And that's exactly what we solve as Dyemansion. So we really work on the finishing and post-processing side of those parts so that our customers can turn the raw parts out of the printer into high-value products. And when we talk about the industrialization of 3D printing, post-processing is absolutely a key part of that. So this is how we do it. We call it our print-to-product platform. It's a three-step approach from raw part to high-value product. Everything starts with the cleaning, and there we have a solution where you can clean the parts in an automated and reproducible way. And then we have two surfacing options. One is a mechanical one, and one is a chemical one. And with the mechanical option, we use big rounded plastic beads and high power and shoot them onto the surface of the parts. And with that, we achieve super high quality, matte, shiny surfaces. And then we have the mechanical option, and there we use a vapor of a solvent, and when the vapor hits the surface of the part, it dissolves the top layer, and with that we are able to achieve completely smooth surfaces like you know it from injection molding. So you really cannot see a difference anymore between a 3D printed part and an injection molded part. And there in between you can see our newest machine. It's the PowerShot Dual Performance. Actually it combines the both processes before. And then we come to our last step, the coloring step. And actually it's a super easy technique and machine. You just take the 3D printed parts, put them inside the machine, choose the color and press start. And after 2.5 hours, the parts come out in the desired color. And actually it's not like, you know, the technique with spray painting where you add a layer on top. It's a dipping process and a chemical reaction between the color pigments and the materials. And so it's the perfect technology for 3D printed parts. Then the more important question, what are our customers doing with it? And the cool thing with 3D printing is there are so many different applications out there in almost all industries. Here you just see 4 examples, may it be eyewear, medical aids, spare parts or other automotive parts, jewelry, all the shoes that I'm wearing. So actually there are endless applications, and that's what also makes fun to work in this industry. And what does this mean for you? So we cannot supply you with a printer or printed parts, but if you will be in the situation where you have a 3D printed part in your hand and you think, hey, I need a different surface, or I need color, or I need specific technical requirements on the surface, then please come to us and we will try to make it work. So then some facts to our company. We are founded in 2015. We are a team of nearly 90 people. We have our headquarters in Munich, Germany, and we have a subsidiary in Austin, Texas. We have machines in more than 35 countries. So far, our funding is a bit more than 20 million. Our revenue is in the high single-digit million range, euros, not dollars, that's important. Then we have more than 600 machines around the globe. We have 35 production partners. Production partners means customers that have industrial 3D printers and our solutions and offer it as a service, like famous Jasper, one of our first customers and probably one of the most known service providers in Europe. And we have more than 25 resellers. Exactly. So what are we doing in terms of sustainability? Actually, we started to think about this 2 years ago, and it's not so hard to come up with a sustainability agenda. But actually, we founded an internal sustainability board with 5 employees, and I'm also part of it. But actually, what we've done already 3 years ago when we started to develop our power fuse machine, this machine with the vapor polishing that I just explained, it was clear for us that, I mean, actually, to achieve this, that you get completely smooth surfaces, you kind of need super aggressive chemicals. And we said, hey, that's not possible. So we won't develop a machine when we need chemicals that are harmful for the environment and for the people. So we decided to develop, a different technique where we also need chemicals, but actually it's a chemical from the food industry, and we also reuse it all the time, so there's no chemical waste. And we have been awarded by the EU with the Green Deal. So actually they support startups with the market entry of sustainable solutions, and we applied for it, and we have been one of the first companies who have been awarded, and they gave us 1.5 million euro in funding. So quite cool. So I only highly can recommend, if you're working on things like that, apply for the program. So then of course, we developed our agenda, and of course you need to start with the why. And yeah, I mean, it's clear, yeah, we only have one world. I mean, there are some people thinking about flying to Mars, and I like the idea, but it won't change that we only have one world. And then we thought, hey, if we are already working on this, and if we really spend efforts on that, let's try if we come up with something to be a role model. So that's also one of our goals, to be a role model for other startups. And I mean, for me, it's clear, yeah, that in 10 years from now, if you don't have a clear agenda and if you don't work on sustainability, you won't be able to do business anymore. And it's also when we have job interviews with young people from universities, in every second job interview in the meantime, they ask us what we are doing as a company in terms of sustainability. So I'm absolutely convinced that every company needs to work on this if they want to make business in 10 years from now. Then regarding, of course, it's not only about carbon emissions, but it's the key KPI when you try to measure things. And of course, everything is about tracking. And in the beginning, you should try to avoid carbon emissions. If you cannot avoid it, you should use green energy. And everything that you cannot change, you should compensate. And that sounds quite easy. It's getting more complicated if you look at the different scopes. And actually, if you're a software startup, it's cool that you're willing to become a climate neutral company, but with hardware startups it's quite a bit different. And actually 98% of all of our carbon emissions are in scope 3. That means the production of our machines when they are running at the customer's facilities and at the end of the life. So we have a lot of stuff to do, and will take some time until we understand everything and until we can really become a climate neutral company. But we also implemented some concrete actions. Of course, I already mentioned the tracking, but we also implemented quick wins. Quick win, one example could be that we only use recycled paper for 2D printers. Now you could say that the most sustainable thing would be to not use paper at all anymore, but in Germany that's not so easy. But in the meantime, we implemented more than 30 quick wins, and it also shows to our employees that we really mean it serious. Big wins is the development of the power fuse, as I just mentioned, guidelines and behaviors. There we are thinking about, or there we are implementing things like less meat, less travel, or change to electrical cars. Then offsetting, as I just mentioned, is an important topic, and we want to do it in a more creative way than just buying stupid CO2 certificates. But of course, in the end, it's also about allocating budget and resources. And we will finally hire a sustainability manager by the end of the year, because otherwise you just cannot really do it. So, and that's already my last slide, the timeline. So actually, we are still in the very beginning, and we will start to implement processes and structures next year. And then from 2023 on, finally, hopefully we have everything ready, and then I can also tell you when we finally will become a Scope 3 neutral company. But I don't like to do it like the politicians and say we will become climate neutral in 2050, and they have no agenda how to achieve this. So that's why I cannot give you a date today, but if you invite me in 2 years again, hopefully I will be able. So we mean it serious. I hope you mean it serious as well. Thank you very much for your time.